In this video, you're going to be taking a look at Lord Maleval for the Joker Squad set from the Legacy Collection. This is, I'm pretty sure, the last Sith Lord character that we have to review on the channel. About 2 years ago, I did a video of every Sith Lord character that Hasbro's ever done, and I think there was 17 characters altogether. And now we finally have individual reviews completed for each one of these characters on the channel. Of course, there will be many other reviews in the future for variants of other characters like Vader and Maul and Palpatine, for example. But it's nice to have at least an in-depth review of every standard character. And Maleval is definitely one of the most unique ones and very interesting ones. So, as I mentioned, he is part of the Joker Squad set, which I do not have the rest of the Stormtroopers that come with that set. I just ended up getting Maleval by himself. I actually have a very interesting story of how I acquired this. So I think it was November of 2018, but I think it may have been the day or two before Thanksgiving. It was around that time. And I ended up, I was traveling and I stopped at a comic book store along the way. And they happened to have Maleval loose and one of those plastic bubbles. And they were asking, I think, $80 for him. And I thought, well, you know, it's the holiday season. It's a character I've been wanting in my collection. And at the time, I wasn't too particular about having the Stormtroopers because while they are neat, it's just more Stormtroopers, you know. And instead of getting on eBay and spending $300-400 for the set brand new, I can just get Maleval, who's the most unique character in that set, by himself for about $80. So I figured, okay, well, we'll go ahead and see what I can do. So I go up to the register, and it happens to be the owner of the store that's operating there. And I intended it to be kind of a joke, but he ended up taking it serious. I was like, you don't happen to be giving a holiday discount at this time, do you? And he thought about it for a minute, and then he came back and answered, just give me $75 for it. And then I was like, oh, well, okay. So I ended up bargaining to get this. But I thought that was a neat story. And he wanted it in cash too. He didn't want a transaction receipt for that. And I did have the cash for it, so that was a very nice deal. So I ended up saving $5 for him. But $75 for Maleval here is not too bad. The prices I see on eBay these days are definitely well above that. He is probably the most highly sought after figure out of the pack. But now, fast forward almost 6 years later, and I definitely would like to get the rest of Joker Squad at some point. In fact, I'm tempted to just go ahead and get a brand new pack someday. Recently on eBay, I do check the prices of this set every now and then, and it seems like most of the sets are between like $225, $250 range, which is really not that bad. Yes, it's expensive, but it is a little bit better than many of the other packs and what I have seen this pack go for before. So perhaps at some point I'll go ahead and just get a brand new set, and then I'll have two of Maleval here, but that's okay for me. And the rest of Joker Squad, I think, it's a really large pack. I think there may be like 5 extra Stormtroopers that come along with the set, and 4 of them are male and 1 female. And some of them do have some interesting markings on them, like a yellowish brown stripe on each of their arms. So perhaps at some point. But anyway, so for Maleval here, a little bit about his character. So he's during the Legacy era. I think this might be one of the last Legacy characters that I need to review on the channel as well. So he is a follower of Darth Krayt. I don't think there's a whole lot about his story. I've tried reading about him before. I have read a little bit about his character in the actual Legacy comics. But there's really not a whole lot about his origin or how he became a Sith Lord or anything like that, as far as I can tell. But he's just basically a follower of Darth Krayt, and then he leads a couple of Stormtrooper divisions on various worlds, carrying out Krayt's ambitions and orders. And he ends up having a run-in with a few of his fellow Stormtroopers in the end, and then that ends up being his demise, without going into too much detail and spoiling too much, in case anyone is interested about reading about his story someday. As for the action figure itself, obviously he's a Quarren, same species as Tessic from Jabba's Palace. And as far as I know, he is entirely new tooling, except for his head, which is a repaint of the Tartakovsky Quarren from earlier in the Legacy Collection. So it's very nice. It's a nice reuse. This is the only Quarren I have in my collection at this time. I really do want to get a Tessic, but instead of the TVC version, I'm debating about getting the Power of the Jedi one, which I think is an excellent action figure as well. If I could get the TVC set that he comes in on sale, I might get that, but $80 for it, it's a little much. So you can tell already, and as I mentioned, I think Maleval is one of the more unique Sith Lords out there. He has that all-seeing eye on his chest there. I'm not exactly sure the meaning of it, or if it is actually supposed to be an all-seeing eye, or if that's just part of his armor design. But it is very unique. Mostly all in black. And he is pretty much entirely soft goods, except for his loincloth here. This plastic, which I think turned out nice. He has Sith tattoos, kind of reminiscent of like Maul. And he does have yellow eyes. He doesn't really have any pupils though. I think there's kind of a white dot there, but it's not much. He does have the 3 teeth sticking out there, and the tentacles. His cape here you can take off. Just slides over his shoulders. Very unique armor. For its hands, I think the Quarren pretty much just have 3 fingers, thumb and the index and middle finger there. And his trousers and his boots, pretty standard. In terms of his articulation, he is super articulated. He has a ball joint in the neck. Then his shoulders, elbows. Elbows don't go quite past 90 degrees. It's close, but not quite there. But it's alright. And then he does have swivel forearms. Then a swivel waist. And swivel hips. Then hinge knees. And hinge ankles as well. So pretty super articulated for the time. In terms of weapons and accessories, probably one of the most unique accessories that could come with a Star Wars action figure is a whip here. Obviously there's not a whole lot of substance to it. It's just a string attached to this handle here, so you can't really do a whole lot with it. I suppose you could have it wrapped around an action figure to try and simulate something. There's not a whole lot you can really do with it, but you can take the handle apart here at the end, Doesn't really do a whole lot, but that is an option. It does have red lightsaber, which I'm pretty sure this is the hilt he comes with. Well, this is, I think, just the hilt is just a straight repaint from one of the lightsabers that comes with General Grievous, the Revenge of the Sith version, I think. Looks very similar, very familiar. Of course, he does have a red blade. Blade's not removable, I don't think. But even if it was, there's not any holes or anything on his belt where you can attach a hilt or anything. Almost looks like he has a little bit of a hole there, but there's no depth to that. Then something that's very unique about him that I really can't think of another Star Wars action figure that has this is, of course, he has his cloak or his robe, but it actually has a wire in it. And it has one around the collar here. And then it has one at the bottom. I wish this was something that we got more frequently with a lot of the action figures, but we never do. And as I mentioned, I can't think off the top of my head any other Star Wars figures that have that feature. I think that's something that many would benefit from. I'm sure there is another action figure out there. But usually anytime we see a wire cape, it's usually in the custom community. And it does help with the flow of his cloak a little bit. You can get it in a wild position like he's in the wind, or you can get it where it's more settled. I always keep him with his cape displayed on him. And the hood, it works out alright. Kind of getting a natural pose there. I think that has a pretty good cut on it as well. Has a good drape there. Yeah, I really like that armor design. Definitely looks like a Sith Lord. But that's pretty much all I can tell you about Maleval here. Before we wrap up the video, since now we have all the Sith Lords completed on the channel, particularly the legacy ones that Hasbro has made, go ahead and bring them all out here. Darth Talon. Have Darth Nil. And of course, the master of them all. You have Darth Krayt. They all look really good together. Happy to have all these in my collection. Would have been nice for Hasbro to knock out a few of the more acolytes of Darth Krayt here. There's like Darth Warlock, I think it is, and I know there's several others as well. I think there's another Quarren. Some people make customs of them on eBay. It'd be nice to get an official Hasbro one. But very nice. So would I recommend Maleval for your collection? If you're a big fan of Sith Lords and you want a very unique action figure for your collection, then yes, he's highly recommended. I think it's one of the best that Hasbro did at the time, and he has many unique features about him that we haven't really seen on any Star Wars action figures throughout its entire history. Like the Wired Cape, for instance, and of course he's the only Quarren Sith Lord that we've ever gotten from Hasbro, and chances are probably will ever be. Even though it's leaves a lot to be desired, he does have a whip with him, which is something that we don't often get with any of the Star Wars action figures, other than like Lumia, for instance. So yeah, if you want to complete your Sith Lord collection, definitely highly recommended. And as I mentioned, I do plan to get the Joker Squad set at some point, and then once I do, I'll be sure to do an in-depth video of that, and then it'll be featuring Maleval yet again. But it's nice to get his own individual video. I think he definitely deserves that. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There will always be more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all your support. And check out some of the links in the description if you haven't done so already. Of course, as always, thanks for watching.